What I noticed in those first two comics that I read is that it seemed to be quite a bit darker. Like I think in the first comic, a pony literally squashes a bunny or something. Or am I just
Oh
remembering it
yes,
wrong?
Chrysalis
Yeah,
viscerally crushes a tiny, loving kitten to scar the CMC.
yeah. So is that like how the rest of the comic goes? Is it a lot darker?
It's Mystery Pony Fiction Interviews, co-hosted by Shakespearicles and Leviathan Eclipse, featuring authors from Fimfiction.net to tell us their stories behind their stories.
Welcome, bronies, to Mystery Pony Fiction Interviews. This is a show where I will be interviewing MLP fanfiction writers that I've made audiobooks for over the last 5 years. I'll be joined by my co-host, Shakespearicles, the ultimate judge, jury, and executioner on good writing about ponies, and Leviathan Eclipse, who is bound to find some writing that should be considered a crime about ponies. Each episode, I intend to bring on a new fanfiction writer to discuss themselves and their inspiration for their writing. This time, we have a really well known writer with 175 stories and 2,389 followers who is not a fan of not many things, fan of most everything.
Sorry, what was that about an executioner?
Uh, I don't know. Shakes will execute bad writers or something. I don't know. I was making a bad joke, I guess.
Well, I mean, executing bad writing is something. Executing just means doing, like that's why programs are called executables because they execute your commands.
Yeah. I just try to come up with a different way to introduce my hosts each episode. Unfortunately, today Leviathan hasn't shown up yet. We hope that he will soon. So I'm going to start with my initial question. So let's start with what I think we all really want to know. What are you not a fan of? Fan of most everything.
Okay, so the name actually came about because a misremembering of the Gilbert and Sullivan play The Mikado, wherein there are two primary court officials, the Lord High Executioner and the Lord High Everything Else. Uh, and as I was trying to come up with a new moniker, because I was formerly known as simply a fan until people thought I was a spam bot, uh, I basically tried to figure out what I was a fan of. And since, gore and needless violence and just, death for the sake of shock value are some of the few things I don't appreciate, I figured I was a fan of most everything else.
Okay. So yeah, you don't like gory horror movies and stuff like that.
More, more just like, especially in the pony sphere of matter of, haha, I covered your pastel wonderland in blood, aren't I? New, cool and edgy and original.
So you don't like cupcakes, I take it. Uh,
At, I appreciate it from a cultural standpoint as, the original source of Axe Crazy Pinky that actually predates her main going straight. Like,
yeah, for me the
I have
cupcakes.
read the original,
Yeah,
but
for
as
me
an
it was
artifact of the
actually
fandom,
listening to
I can
someone
appreciate
read.
it, much in the same way I can appreciate the ceremonial dagger that was used to sacrifice people atop stepped pyramids. But that doesn't mean I want to experience it myself.
Hmm. Yeah, I think um I, yeah, I heard a reading of cupcakes as my first introduction to ponies, and I was like, oh, maybe this silly pony show that I've been hearing about is kind of like Happy Tree Friends and is like actually a violent, you know, um, morbid mess or whatever, and that kind of intrigued me into watching it, and I found that wasn't I found that I enjoyed it for other reasons, of course. Um, so yeah, go on, fan of most everything.
Beyond that, really just really it's just a matter of, doing things because for forcing things because you just want them to happen rather than finding a way to organically work them into the story. Uh, also tomatoes and squash, it's a texture thing.
Cool.
Yeah. I agree with the whole doing horror and gore for the shock value alone, because like even upon reading Cupcakes, just to understand it from a fandom archaeology point of view, the problem I had with it is that like there's no understanding of Pinkie Pie's motivations. It's her entire explanation for why she's doing what she's doing is just, sorry, Dash, your number came up. Like, I understand that like that's how some crazy people operate, but like that doesn't make for a good story. And certainly not a good vehicle for everything that happened afterwards.
Nope.
So anyways, that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. So I think we're going to go into our first segment now, which is called Super Brony Origin Story. So this is where I'm going to ask you, Fan, to tell us how you got here. How you became a brony, got your superpowers.
So, in my case, the first bit of Friendship is Magic media I encountered was a clip on TV of specifically Rarity having her Icarus moment in Sonic Rainboom. And my takeaway from that was that she was the, arrogant, prissy, basic villain of the week who was the last of the butterfly winged unicorns and who had prided herself as the last of her kind and been an absolute bitch the whole episode and was in the middle of getting her comeuppance. And it still amuses me how simultaneously right and wrong I could be. In terms of but that wasn't what got me into the fandom. Actually, several real life friends recommended the show and showed me a few videos, including, I believe it was then, the rendition of Flutter Guy performing Fuck Shit Stack.
I'm familiar with that
So,
video. Yes.
so that between their recommendations and the assorted media I was shown, that was basically my indoctrination into Bronydom. And the funny thing is that I have stayed in the fandom far longer than any of the people who introduced me to it.
Yeah, same here. I'm getting to be one of the most persistent. Although I kind of stay in the fandom now because it's where all my friends are, and that I've done this channel for so many years now that I can't really make a channel about anything else and have the same audience anymore. So in some ways, I'm stuck here in this fandom.
I mean, DWK reinvented himself, so
Okay, what's he doing now?
he's a VTuber with
Oh,
a anime girl persona.
okay. Yeah,
Which
Yeah,
maybe I
honestly
could do
feels
that,
like
put
a
a
very
voice changer on.
organic evolution for him.
yeah. I just like, as someone who knew what was actually going on with him behind the scenes, like I can tell he was getting burnt out on, just on Pony and just having that being his entire identity. And having to reinvent himself was basically, he needed to save himself because like he was getting pretty bad into the substance abuse and using his creative medium as a justification for that, like being that guy that cracks a beer at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
He made that too much part of his personality, and I'm glad he got out of that. And I mean, I'm not as big of a fan of his newer stuff, but I'm happy that he's happy at least.
Hmm.
No, like his general both physical and mental health take priority over being the haha funny gravelly voiced pony guy.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I do have some morbid thoughts about whether I'm sick of Pony or not. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know sometimes. And then sometimes I get really motivated again and I get a whole bunch of audiobooks done in a row and sort of goes up and down. I'm hoping I still, have enough energy for another 5 years. But
Well,
we'll
that's
see.
all. That's all any of us can really hope for. Nobody's promised tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, cool. Any other interesting stories about your story?
In terms of how I got to where I am.
Yeah. Did you do much writing before the fandom?
Oh, yes. Let's see. I did a one or two stories for the anime The Slayers. Did a couple for the 2016 Titans series. Let's see. A lot of assorted Magic the Gathering crossovers.
One problem with being a fan of most everything is that each hobby will involve time that you have to spend. So it really depends how much time you can.
I actually started my ponyfic on fanfiction.net, and I'm not telling you what account. Before finding out that Fimfiction was even a thing, and then proceeded to branch out to it, and I actually leveraged the Tumblr I had at the time to help, spread awareness and cross-pollinate the hype.
Oh my god, I remember Tumblr.
It's still there.
I never joined Tumblr. I remember it ending.
I created an account just to be able to see and create a profile to favorite all the artists that I really liked. But I remember the big Tumblr exodus. I know it's still there, but I mean, in the same way that I'm trying to remember the name of that other voice call program that everybody used for a while there before Discord came along.
Skype?
Skype, yeah. Yeah, like Skype still exists, but it's not as popular as it used to be. But who knows? Maybe it'll have its big comeback moment now.
I doubt it. I don't think people are going to go back to Skype.
Right.
All right. Cool. So I guess we will start getting into the stories that I've read of yours. I just kind of come across your stories sometimes, and but one thing I do notice about you is that you are very active in a lot of comment sections on people's stories. I remember seeing that avatar of yours all over the place on Fimfiction, just in comment sections and stuff. So you're very active in the Fimfiction community, and seeing that name everywhere.
I mean, part of it is I have been here since September of 2011, so sheer time exposure. Part of it is just the golden rule. I comment unto others as I hope they comment unto me.
Yeah, I'm sure you're very helpful to a lot of people. You help to inspire a lot of people. The first story of yours that I got intrigued by is called In Markmorian.
I'm standing in the echo of the harm I couldn't see, trying to forgive the Philly I used to be. If marks are memories scarred too deep to hide, then let mine be proof that I chose to change my side. I won't run, I won't pretend I didn't know. I'll carry every shadow as I grow. If I'm more than what I was before, then let that be what I'm remembered for.
And it's focused on Misty and weaves in G4 in the form of the CMC coming up. So did you want to give us a synopsis of that story from how you see it?
Certainly. So in terms of the inspiration, it was very simple. in the earlier parts of G5, Misty's whole motivation is trying to get a cutie mark, which Opaline uses as the carrot to the stick that is her entire personality. So the inspiration went. We know a group who is specifically specialize in providing cutie marks. There's just this tiny issue that they've been dead for centuries. But Misty is the minion of the last great wizard in Equestria. She has the resources available, and as such, she basically performs a ritual to summon their ghosts from the afterlife. At which point, Opaline catches her, and then B, the big funny twist happens, and I'm debating whether or not to spoil my own story here.
Well, we can give people a warning now, that if they don't want it spoiled, they can, I don't know, move on to the next one, or, pretty much the point of this podcast is to, just have you go through the whole, your whole motivation for the story, even if it spoils it.
Sure
and
thing.
People can leave now if they want to.
My apologies for your retention statistics. But yes, the aforementioned funny twist is that, the thing about a lot of my G5 stories is that they keep circling back to the question of how did we get here in one form or another? And in this case, the answer is Opaline is the way that she is because A, she is Diamond Tiara's daughter, and B, she spent a lot of time with Grandma Spoiled.
Right. Is that your theory, or has that become canon now?
Honestly, one of many.
Okay.
As I said, a lot of my G5 stories tend to be attempts to explain how G4 led to G5. I've observed recently that I keep circling back to Opaline once was Trixie. It appears to be like my narrative equivalent of carcinization.
Huh. I mean, I know the actual canon is supposed to be that Opaline is the forgotten, long-lost sister of Celestia and Luna as the fire alicorn.
Contemporary, yes. It's unclear if they're related or not, because we never actually got to the details about Skyros before they pulled the plug.
Right.
But the nice thing about that is that the ambiguity means that I can just say, no, this is just a story she tells herself in her unstable madness to justify both her actions and her continued existence, so she doesn't just curl up in a ball and collapse into a heap of existential dread.
Yeah, and that's one of the strengths about having a source material where there's some ambiguity to it, is that you can use something like a unreliable narrator, in this case, Opaline, and you can make up whatever you want for her backstory because that's what she believes. Now, whether or not that's accurate or not doesn't matter. She's the unreliable narrator. You have to take her word for it or choose not to.
Yeah.
Exactly. As the wiggle room is honestly something that I regretted losing as G4 kept going and, the gaps kept getting filled in.
Well, kept going through, fan fiction? Because, it didn't... I suppose it kept going into comics, didn't it? In an official way.
That, and also just, the later seasons as, the world kind of kept... The details kept getting...
Yeah, because we know they're all grown up.
Simply because there was more content.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a problem with the show explaining more of the lore of the show, but the problem I had was a lot of times when it would contradict itself, and then you had to go these crazy convoluted routes to try to explain it away.
Yeah,
also frustrating. Yes.
I guess the thing with me is I was never one of those nerds that cared that much about, whether things were making sense and whether there was continuity. Like I'd see a lot of bronies having like heated discussions online. It's like, oh, this G5 is crap because it ruins all these story elements, and I'm kind of like, oh man, chill out, dude. It's just a kids show, whatever. That was kind of my attitude. I didn't get too passionate about, how much the story was fitting, but I did enjoy seeing Spike come back in some of the G5 episodes.
Well, that was a little polarizing too.
Mm.
It was nice to see him. It would have been nice for him to, well, he did do a few things.
Yeah. I think the problem though is just writing off the shortcomings of it as it's just a little girl show is kind of that same psychological defense mechanism of when people are trying to say that video games can be art, and then people are just like, oh, it's just a game, why you have to be mad, it does a disservice to it, I think. And I don't think there's anything wrong with holding animation to a higher standard, as an art. And then just admitting like yeah, okay, look, it's imperfect and it's okay, but we shouldn't just discount it because it's commercialization.
Mm. So I've got some notes about the story here. Um, I wrote down that you came up with a pretty cool word, Necronomicon.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool
I'm
reference.
99% sure I'm not the first to come up with that one.
Yeah, yeah.
That's, as far as
Yeah,
horse puns go, that's a bit of a layup.
Yeah, that's I figured that was a fanon word by then.
Also, I think in your story you make a comment on why cutie marks are on both flanks in G4, but not anymore in G5. I wrote that
I
down.
definitely comment on it. I don't believe I have an explanation for it.
Okay. Yeah, because that is interesting about what the theory might be behind that. I just wrote that note. I don't remember exactly what you said about it in the story. And did you actually listen to the audiobook that I made for it?
I fear I didn't. A bit of it, not the whole thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I did a lot of like I had a lot of fun with the voice effects for when the spirits of the CMC appear, and yeah, I guess I was wondering if you had any comments about that, about the actual performance of the fic, but I guess not.
My apologies.
That's all right. And yeah, what do you actually? This is because I didn't pay that much attention to G5, like I wasn't obsessed with it or anything, but I don't seem to remember what made Misty get her cutie mark. Uh,
Ah,
what was the canon way it
it
actually happened?
has been a while since I saw that episode, but I believe it was just a matter of her ultimately defying Opaline and helping to rescue Sparky. Of course,
Yeah.
Of course, they kind of detached cutie marks from the thing you're best at to more an expression of who you are. So that was kind of wishy-washy afterwards, but it was still a very nice moment of triumph for her.
And it ended up being a butterfly, the cutie mark. I wonder if that's a reference to Fluttershy in some way.
I don't think so. I think it was the episode where all of her friends had gotten captured by Opaline, and so she sets them free, and they get away, but she pretends like they overpowered her, so that way she could still be in Opaline's good graces, then act as a double agent, which I think was a really good turning point for her character in the show. Like, again, I wasn't a super huge fan of the show, but for her, like, that was when I'm like, okay, now it's getting good.
Yeah, and basically I was going to ask you about your Opaline theories, but I think we covered that earlier. So,
I
as
mean, I have a whole story that's literally just Misty telling the others about all of Opaline's explanations of about who she is and where she comes from, and how no two of them agree.
cool. You could probably tell us a bit more about that. I'm gonna like ask you to promote any other stories that you want people to know about. Um, like later on in the show. Uh, for now, we're gonna move on. Unless you have anything else to say about this story before we
Not
move on to
about
the
In
next.
Morium.
Okay. So next we got
That
glimmers of. Okay. Sorry, I should ask if Shakes has anything to say.
Well, I was just gonna say that that story that you mentioned, where she's making all these explanations for her origin story, it reminded me of another story. The name of it escapes me, but it was the one where it had uh, the pony from Rainbow Road Trip there, where she's got the artificial leg, the prosthetic leg there.
Kerfuffle.
Kerfuffle, thank you. And the whole story is just her giving an explanation, like for how she lost her leg to
Yes.
all the different characters, and every time she does it, it's a different story, and you never find out which one's the real one or if any of them is the real one. It doesn't matter, you know.
No.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. So all right, yeah, moving on.
Yeah. All right. So next we got glimmers of affection.
She doesn't love like others do. Not one bright sun, but scattered view. A sky of feelings far and wide. No single place her heart can hide. And every name she's thinking of feels like a different kind of love. She's reaching out through a doubt above to understand what counts as love.
So yeah, how would you say? Yeah, what would you? I actually kind of forgot the plot of this story until I re-listened to it. Shortly before this show. Because yeah, it was quite a long time ago now. Yeah, it's kind of wild that I've been doing this for 5 years. That some stories I've actually forgotten the plot of. So I listened to it again, and it was almost like listening to it the first time because I forgot most of it. Um, so yeah, did you want to tell us the synopsis of this one?
Certainly. Basically, Starlight is trying to figure out her own romantic feelings and is turning to Twilight for help as, one of the few people who she is certain she is not in love with, because it's somewhere between be hot for teacher and falling for your parole officer. But basically, Twilight just tells her to be upfront and actually communicate with people, which is, not the easiest thing, but it does produce results. Namely, Maud isn't interested. Trixie thought they were already dating, and Sunburst was not able to keep the news from Cadence, who very nearly goes super critical as she's already preparing the three pony wedding.
And yeah,
So yeah, this was specifically for one of Bicyclet's contests, in this case for a poly ship, and yeah, I just think that Starlight, Sunburst, and Trixie make for a really both entertaining and um not necessarily emotionally healthy, but emotionally supportive three thruple.
yeah, yeah, because it was kind of a twist at the end that yeah, that it turned out that yeah, a polyamorous relationship was what was best for her. And yeah, yeah, I remember there was some paragraphs about when about how she first tried to admit to Trixie how she felt, and Trixie was like, "Oh, I thought we were already dating." And if you actually listen to the audiobook, I put a lot of sound effects in there, like fireworks, during the scene with Trixie, and
Those just kind of happen around her.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, I like the way you described it as not necessarily being emotionally healthy, but emotionally supportive. And I really thought you were going to go with saying emotionally interesting, because from a writing perspective, that is paramount. And that's what you accomplished with this story, is that whether it's healthy or not, regardless, it's interesting. And that's what makes it good to read.
But by the
Oh,
way, sorry, by the way, I've got a segment that's coming up, which is Shakespeare's legendary writing advice. So before we get to that segment, I'd like you to maybe think of some sort of question you want to ask Shakes to give you advice about, because in the past we've kind of ended up us. You've kind of ended
Well,
up surprised by
I'll
that
put a pin
question.
into that. I'll put a pin in that interesting writing remark for now, and then I get back to that later.
Yeah, sorry. Um, yeah, so go on. Fan of most everything.
uh, no, just agreeing that it has interesting interactions are necessary for engaging writing. It's just that I was hoping to do something relatively supportive because I just prefer happy endings. Like it can definitely be interesting to see a dysfunctional relationship spin out of control and send the parts flying everywhere. It's just not the kind of thing I generally want to write.
Yep. Fair enough. Oh
But
yeah, and
to be
Trixie
clear,
says,
I have no issue with people who do write that, and I have greatly read and greatly enjoyed many of the breakup contests that have been on Fimfic. It's just not my thing.
yeah, there was a bit that I liked where I think it was Starlight. Uh, sorry, Starlight said to Trixie, "I trust you," and Trixie said that was the most uh, romantic thing she's ever heard someone say to her. I thought that line was kind of cool, even though I kind of butchered it there.
Yes, like it is a very you have to consider Trixie's life up until then. Like her entire career was, basically just wowing yokels out of their bits and you know, live literally walking from place to place with everything she owned harnessed to her. She never really had someone she had the opportunity to trust ever since she left home, if you go by the comics and consider her a Celestia's gifted school dropout.
Yeah, I guess
So,
you're.
having someone explicitly look her in the eye and tell her, I trust you, I put my faith in you, it is something she has almost never experienced outside of family, and it is something that is going to deeply touch her emotionally.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why that particular part stood out to me a bit. Yeah, it gave me kind of the feels. Um, yeah. So what are your opinions on Polly? Like, was this
Sorry,
a
on what?
what are your opinions on polyamory or whatever? Like, did you
Oh,
write this story trying to say, yeah, it's really cool, or
I mean, I don't. I have a brother-in-law who's been in a variably polyamorous relationship. I mean, in his particular case, it was more a matter of one one girlfriend was far healthier for him than the other, and but I mean, it is a perfectly reasonable and legitimate lifestyle for those who can accommodate all involved partners. There, I per- personally don't believe I am polyamorous. I've not exactly had the opportunity to find out, but I have nothing but support for those who find happiness with more than one person.
yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of us have got that feeling that we'll probably, not get enough chances to find out if we would work with multiple people, let alone find one person that's interested in us. What about you, Shakes? What do you think about polyamorous relationships?
It's a double-edged sword for sure. Speaking from experience, and all the good that comes with it, all the good that multiplies with the number of partners, the problems multiply as well. And I don't mean like I don't mean like problems that make it insurmountable. I just mean all the usual problems that you would have in any relationship. It's exponential because it's not just you and another person. It's now you have to also take into account them with each other as well. So when you have a lot of moving parts like that, uh, the name of the game with any relationship, polyamorous or not, is communication. And as long as you've got those open lines of communication, yes, you're going to have those problems, but you can also resolve those problems. Then, and that's the key to making any relationship work.
Yeah, I think it would. It sounds like it would be exhausting to have to care for the emotional needs of multiple people. You
It,
know,
it it is. It's well, it is, but like you have to have the strength for that, and I think that that's the entry bar that I think a lot of people would fail at up front. Just having that being that exhausting, you have to have the emotional energy for that. Not everyone qualifies, unfortunately. And there's a lot of people who will attempt it and then burn out on it, and then think that there's something intrinsically wrong with the concept of that sort of relationship in itself. And really, it's relationships are always very personal. And so, like, I was a little thrown when you just kind of came right out and asked, what's your opinion on poly? Like, well, like that's a personal take on a very personal thing. It's like, like it's like asking somebody what their favorite food is. That doesn't make that particular food good or bad. It's
mm,
personal.
yeah, I just thought, yeah, I'd bring it up since it was in the story.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So, is there anything else you wanted to highlight in that story? Uh,
Uh,
well, like
I am having having gotten back over it. I am still very tickled by by the trio of crystal ponies who escort Trixie and Starlight to Cadence, especially the one who is basically become a mad cultist of Flurry Heart. Poor Anhedral Topaz.
yeah, they had weird names. That those were hard to, keep saying when I was reading it. Um,
Well,
but yeah, it was fun.
they're crystal ponies. They're going to have mineralogically inspired names. My apologies.
Yeah, yeah, those were probably some jokes that went over my head a bit.
You see,
Uh,
like when you say it out loud like that, it makes sense. But like, I
yeah,
will admit, I had to go back and reread that section because it was a little confusing.
yeah. All right. Uh, is there anything you wanted to say about the story? Assuming that you probably read it recently before the show, Shakes.
Uh, if you didn't already mention it, I was also going to point out that that scene where she says, "I trust you" to Trixie was like really heartfelt, and like that was a really, really good scene.
Cool. So I was right
So
to have feels about that part.
yeah, yeah, that was an objectively good scene by every measure.
Mm.
Thank you very much.
All right. Uh, so if we're finished with that one, did you want to move on to the third story?
I'm I'm up for it.
Cool. So yeah, I found this quite interesting. I guess yeah, it's called A Star Is Scorned.
Scars of a star etched on my side. I never wanted this war to decide. A talent for breaking, for cutting apart. A wound on my soul, a scar on my heart.
And I guess the basic premise is, yeah, the CMC ask Starlight Glimmer how she got her cutie mark. And I guess you're basically communicating your theory about how Starlight Glimmer got her cutie mark and why. And I'm also wondering if there has ever been a canon explanation of it, or if you came up with this as a kind of way to fill in what the canon hadn't.
To my knowledge, we have never gotten an answer to that question. And
That's
I feel it's
correct.
one of the more fascinating ones. Like you have you have a character who is introduced despising this fundamental part of equine nature. And so the question naturally, and the formative experience that soured her on it was before she got her own mark. So how did it happen and how did she react?
You didn't
I
react very
agree. Like,
well.
that's a very big deal that the
Mm.
show never addressed.
Yeah, so how did you address it, Fan?
So it definitely started with just the imagery of Starlight raging in the storm, like demonstrating the terrible power at her disposal and just going from rage against the world to absolute horror at herself, and then that reverberating back into even greater rage against the world. Like, let's face it, before the end of the time battle, this was not a mentally or emotionally well person. And, the way she got her mark had to reflect that. And at the same time, it also had to explain why her mark looks like that. And I feel like the best the answer that both makes the most sense and is also kind of the funniest is if we go along with the passion she admitted to Maud, namely, in addition to being a falling star burning with the flames of magic, it's also a kite.
Hmm. Yeah, so like,
I,
yeah,
I, I have seen a couple of explanations for her cutie mark in some other stories, and this one was by far my favorite one to read about because it took that path where it was a little bit absurd, but also grounded in enough canon evidence where, like, yeah, that could totally be the way that that went down.
I could probably say the same thing, except that it's probably the only story I've read about how Starlight got a cutie mark. So yeah, I don't have as
It's a shockingly underexplored question.
yeah. Also with this, I hope you will consider listening to the audiobook I did of it, because I think I did a really fun job of portraying the actual storm going on in the background with sound effects, and yeah, it was one of my favorite stories to sort of create a soundscape for, and rain and storms are always a nice, yeah, are a pretty fun thing to portray, and yeah. I think
Oh
I did,
yeah, I can imagine that the Foley work was a lot of fun to do.
yeah. And also, it happened to be after the era of when I started putting AI generated songs at the end of each of my readings. So you probably didn't hear that, but if you, yeah, go to the end of it, you can hear the little song that I AI generated for it. I'm not sure if you'd be offended by a song being made about your story, but it's yeah basically what I do for every story ever since I yeah started paying for Suno. So yeah, maybe give it a listen sometime. See if you think it did it justice.
I shall.
Cool. And that also means that as part of doing this podcast, I'm going to create a AI generated song for your other stories that I didn't do them for before I started doing it as a regular thing. So I'll be making a song for your In Mark Morium and Glimmers of Affection. And there is also a song at the end of the fourth story that I read of yours recently. Um, yeah, that you might want to check out. Like, yeah,
Oh, mystery! Just want to let you know, I uploaded the cover art for this podcast to the podcast channel.
oh, okay. I might have a look at that, see what the joke is. Ah, nice.
Dude, you nailed it.
I
It's
don't
just,
think he was portrayed as being that young in the story.
Oh no, she was fully in her
Teenager.
edgy teen black leather phase, but
Yeah.
God, just the juxtaposition between, the utter soul-rending despair and happy Philly with Kite just got me between the eyes, man.
yeah. I will say that the episode where they go back to Cyrus Hollow and we get that like glimpse of her bedroom there was just like that opened a whole can for the fandom.
Oh yeah, that's what you used
Or
as the cover art picture of a bedroom, which I
Yep.
think had some
That's
interesting
it
stuff in it.
simultaneously raises and answers so many questions.
yes, and that's one of the big strengths of the show is that it would sprinkle in things like that that didn't it gave some explanation, but it raised more questions and it just invigorates the fandom around it.
And that was how it was when she ran away from home, presumably.
And that's the way it was.
Oh, damn it! Some assholes mowing the lawn outside. I hope that's not too distracting.
Nope, we're not
Literally
getting
cannot hear
anything
it.
on your end.
All right, cool. All right, so is there any other stuff that you wanted to talk about with that story? Oh, what one other thing I'll just mention about the actual audio book production of it is that uh actually never mind. Sorry, go on.
No, not much else to say. Like if it inspires someone else to explore the question of how Starlight got her cutie mark, then fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you wanted to comment on about it, Shakes?
It's funny you mentioned that because I was actually thinking about writing a story along those lines myself. It's
Ah,
fertile ground for
Fantastic.
sure.
you gonna give any
Art begets
exclusive
art.
spoilers during this podcast? Or are you gonna save it?
Oh, I don't know yet, man. It's just the kernel of an idea. It hasn't blossomed into anything yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always fascinating to read stories where, yeah, they fill in the things that were never explained. So basically, I think what the overall what the story was basically saying is that she maybe got afraid of her own power, like maybe she decided not to like her cutie mark because and cutie marks in general is that she didn't like that she was like dangerous, that her powers were dangerous and nearly yeah caused a lot of damage when she basically ended the storm with her powers. Is that sort of what you're going for? At least that's how I
I mean,
sort of
she was
portray it.
already negatively predisposed towards cutie marks, but seeing her own power as just this thing that could only ever destroy and sunder and tear apart did not do her psyche any favors.
Mm.
Yeah, I kind of read it as like the petulant child who wants a cookie, and so you give a cookie to her brother first, right? And she throws a tantrum over it, and then you offer one to her, and then she's like, "Well, I don't want it now." Like that's kind of how I interpreted her getting a cutie mark after everything that she went through with Sunburst getting his instead.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I guess I don't always remember
It's
how related Sunburst is to Glimmer's story.
Yeah, I mean, like that. He was part of her origin story where like he gets
He
his
was her
cutie
he
mark
was her
first.
one friend, and then he went away to wizard school and she was left behind, all because he got his mark. And that was the foundation upon which she built the rest of her life.
Mm.
Yeah,
I think I
and
did
that's
that
and
to
that's
a friend of mine. Like I left for the city and my friend stayed behind in the small town and yeah, we drifted apart as friends after that.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the bottom line though is that in a situation like that, it doesn't have to be founded in anything logical or rational. It's emotional. It doesn't have to make sense,
Yeah, it's just
and
a
oftentimes it
dumb
doesn't.
kid show, right?
No, I mean
It's more
the
a matter of
actual
this isn't something you can explain or explain your way out of. This is something that goes deeper within the mind.
yeah, and especially when you're dealing with young characters or just young people in general, like they're going to have emotional responses to certain things that happen in their life that aren't founded in anything logical or rational, but it's still real. And it's still something that they're really going through and really experiencing. And so you can have these traumatic experiences that you could explain away and say, "Oh, well, that's not what that was really about." This, that, or the other thing. It doesn't change how they felt at the time and how that was a formative part of their upbringing. Whether it was on purpose or by accident or whatever. Like it still puts that crack in their foundation that takes years to heal.
Mm. Yeah, so yeah, I thought that was a pretty fun story to read. And now, um, if you're willing to, we can go on to the fourth story, which I basically yeah look, but yeah when you accepted my invitation to come onto this podcast, I decided, well, I'll go and do what I usually do and read at least one more story for each guest that comes on as like a bonus. So, yeah, I went into your profile and I had a look around and I got intrigued by the masterpiece. What was it called again exactly?
The last
The
masterpiece.
last masterpiece.
If this is the end, then let it mean something more than what it seems. If we fall like shattered glass, let us shine while we still last. Write us down, don't look away. Let tomorrow read today. If we're gone, at least we'll be the last most perfect masterpiece.
Mainly because I saw that
Wherein
really
I had to
cute.
assure people that no, this was not my last story on Fimfic. I'm not retiring. It's just a suitable title.
Yeah. Maybe people will think I'm retiring because that's the last story that I've read so far, and I've taken a break of 3 weeks, which is probably getting
Oh,
some
now,
people.
all right. Hey, just a secret between us girls here. I think I know what I'm doing for April Fool's Day.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
gonna be the last whatever story, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh God, it Shakes is quitting."
yeah.
I'll never quit.
Yeah, I've always got to come up with what I'm going to do for my April Fool's episode of Mystery Pony Fiction. Like one time I did an awful Sonic fan fiction, and I said, okay, I'm going to do Sonic fan fiction from now on. And yeah, obviously it was a joke on April Fool's Day. Um, anyway, we got a bit sidetracked there. So yeah, the reason I picked that story was largely because I just thought Izzy was so cute in that cover art for it, and I assume the cover art is actually from the comic, the official comic. Is that where that
It
came
is,
from?
yes.
Yeah, because I did find the story quite confusing, and I did kind of need that disclaimer at the end, the author's note at the end, where you explained where a lot of it came from. Because as I was reading it, before I read the author's note at the end, I was pretty confused about what the heck was going on. And
Yeah, that's fair.
and I think that the disclaimer at the end was a bit necessary because a lot of us, obviously, I've I haven't read any of the comics since like I think the first 2 issues they ever did. Like there were 2 issues that had the CMC and Chrysalis at the very start, and I haven't read the comics since that. So I and probably a lot of other people have got almost no knowledge about anything that happened in the comics. And
Yeah.
apparently, like some people call the comics like season 10, as in like it's how.
There is an official season 10 line as the concluding arc of the G4 comics, yes.
Right. Yeah, I should probably read it. But there's so many other things I think I'd prefer to do as my fandom for ponies is kind of not as strong as it used to be. But
This is fair. Uh,
yeah.
but no, the thing is, I mentioned this in the pre-show. So I have a weekly blog, Friendship is Card Games, wherein I take a piece of pony media and, convert it into about 20, 25 magic cards because that's just how my brain works and what I like doing on my weekends. Uh, so, in order to fuel that, I ended up reading basically all of the significantly sized secondary pony media and it, to a degree, internalized it for fanfic purposes as a result, which means that, this unholy union of G5, the IDW comics, and the end of in pony life just came naturally to me as a synthesis of all of the things I have been looking at over the years.
Mm. Yeah, you really took in like everything, whereas some of us kind of just stopped at the end of G4 or even halfway through G4. Like a lot of friends of
Which is
mine that introduced me to the fandom just dropped off when Twilight became an Alicorn, stuff like that.
and that's entirely understandable. This is my personal madness, and in hindsight, I absolutely should have gotten someone to pre-read this and remind me that not everyone is going to know all of the background here as intuitively as I do.
Mm. So like what sort of plot were you trying to get across as to what's like I'm assuming this is like literally the end of the world is what you're describing here, like I mean, maybe
So
ponies end and
the
so everything just ceases to exist and Discord is kind of
the
explaining
beginning
that.
of the story is the end of the last officially released G5 short. Like, literally, the last thing Sunny Star Scout ever says in My Little Pony Media is, "Well, it was nice while it lasted," which
Ah.
is, I believe, the reason why they chose to release that short last. And so this whole story was just a meditation on the tragedy cut short that was Gen 5. And in my mind, I immediately associated it with both the early G5 comic arc wherein Old Man Discord comes in and tries to destroy magic in the effort to, prevent the same divisions that destroyed Equestria before from reemerging, and also Discord's role at the end of Pony Life, the acid trip of a G4.5 that very few people watched, wherein basically un the bluntest way to put it is that he unfucks the universe after very nearly destroying it in a prank, and then proceeds to, as far as one can tell, preserve the entire series as it has aired as a book on a shelf in his house, next to the bottled naked singularity that nearly destroyed reality.
And Fluttershy is there for some
And
reason.
so I just decided, okay, wait, we have a common denominator here. We can make it work. And it's basically my best effort at making something that feels at least a bit like a more satisfactory ending to Gen 5, while at the same time acknowledging the Hasbro simply pulling the plug on it.
Hmm.
It's basically putting a hypercube peg into a round hole.
Does anyone know if
That's the thing. They all fit in the square hole if you angle them right.
It goes in the square hole.
It goes in the square hole.
That's right. It goes in the square hole.
So, like with how G5 was technically a sequel to G4, has Hasbro confirmed anything about whether this is going to be a completely clean slate for G6 or
It
it's
is
going to be connected?
unclear, though apparently documents are insisting on the use of Twilight, Rainbow Dash, and Pinky. Like, they're explicitly calling them the popular three, according to my admittedly sketchy sources. So we'll see what comes of it. All I know is that apparently Boom Studios, a different comics manufacturer, purchased the rights to Friendship is Magic from IDW, and we're going to be getting more comics before the end of the year. So we'll see what comes of that.
Hmm.
Any word if they're going to be using the same artists?
Absolutely no idea.
Mm,
I don't know how many of them are like contractually obligated to only work for IDW.
right, right. I'm very used to the styles that I've seen, and I'm looking forward to this. It's like when you see the characters in different artistic styles, they almost feel like different characters. Just in
Mm.
terms of like
Especially what
the
especially certain artists who visibly give less effort every time they are asked to do an issue.
But by the
um
way,
mhm,
what I noticed in those first two comics that I read is that it seemed to be quite a bit darker. Like I think in the first comic, a pony literally squashes a bunny or something. Or am I just
Oh
remembering it
yes,
wrong?
Chrysalis
Yeah.
viscerally crushes a tiny loving kitten to scar the CMC.
Yeah, so is that like how the rest of the comic goes? Is it a lot darker?
It's
no.
a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Like some comic storylines are some of the best pony media you will ever see. Some will make you tear your hair out at how incredibly obnoxious either the writing, the art, or both is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Also, in terms of like, in terms of like Gen 6 or the future of Pony, like I have heard some rumors of a fever dream of there being a live action My Little Pony
oh yeah.
take.
Bite your
Again,
tongue.
those are entirely speculation. I have no idea how that would even be accomplished. So
That
maybe they
sounds
could pull it
bad.
off, but like I'm just looking at like the history for like Disney trying to do that with the various stories, and the results of that. So I do want more pony, but I kind of would prefer quality.
Agreed. Also, I have posted the panels that you recall in the podcast text channel.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll put those in the description of the video when I bring it out. Um yeah, so that's all the stories done. So I guess the next segment will be me asking you to talk about other stories you've written that you'd like to uh, get attention, give attention to.
I as I previously mentioned, Opaline Formation is the story of Opaline's many origin stories as told to Misty and as relayed to the rest of the main cast. Um, let's
I
see,
mean, surely you gotta.
Oversaturation. I always welcome more eyes on since it is the root of a whole AU, which is getting another story, which has another story currently in development.
Do you do like commissions? Like, do many of these come from requests, or
Uh,
is this mostly your own
I do
ideas?
a lot of contest prompts. I don't do commissions simply because I know how my work ethic works and more often doesn't, and I cannot promise either a timely response or one that is going to satisfy a very specific request. I work well in terms of vaguer concepts in for something like a commission, I don't feel I can provide a satisfactory product.
Mm. Yeah, like I always fear when my podcast becomes so popular that I'm just fulfilling commissions, because like I have like promises of, if you pay this much per month or whatever, I'll read you a story of this size each month. But then, if I get too many people, too many members, then I won't get to pick any of my own anymore. And that's a bit of a existential threat of if this gets too popular.
Well, yeah, there is a bit of the suffering from success part of it, and the other thing too, and I'm kind of in the same boat as Fan Most Everything here, is I'm not money motivated. Like that doesn't get my keys a clacking.
Mm.
So if someone said, "Hey, I'll pay you this much money to do this," it's like, uh, okay, but like I can't guarantee quality because that's not what's going to be the thing that gets that fire going, that gets me creative. It works for some people. I mean, some people are money motivated, and I don't begrudge them for that.
Yeah.
But it is a art is always very personal.
Like I used to maybe be money motivated if someone asked me to do a commission. I'm like, oh, cool. But that was mostly when I was unemployed. Now that now I don't really, want to spend my time doing stories that I don't want to do. I'd rather just go do an extra shift at work or something. You know, like that pays a lot more, and I kind of undervalue, the actual time that it takes to make these audiobooks. Like, I'm sure I've mentioned it before that I way undervalued myself for the your cat's cradle fic, and kind of learned a lesson from that to, put my prices higher and hope someone's willing to pay them. Which a couple of people have over the years, but not many. But that's probably good because I get to pick my own creative ideas more.
Yeah, I mean, I know you had to abandon that project for a couple of reasons, and not the least of which being the fact that you were paid what you were for a project of that size. I was not surprised or bothered at all when you had to drop out of that. I'm actually
Yeah,
glad that you did because I knew you were
50
going to burn
cents an
yourself
hour.
out.
50 cents an hour was
Yeah,
probably
no,
yeah.
Not in
but
this
that's
century.
the yeah, no, that's the reason why, the starving artist is a trope, because sometimes for situations like that you have to be hungry for it. And if you become comfortable, then you can't be money motivated. Uh
Yeah,
it, it's the
there's also the fact that I want to put a certain amount of effort into it. Like I want to put my own creative ideas of the sound effects and the soundscape and the music. Picking the music and all that is part of the creative process that I enjoy. If I did the rest of the commission just plain reading, with nothing extra in it, I'd get, really bored of it. And I'm actually worried of maybe the AI bubble crashing and me not having access to Suno anymore. The dread of possibly having to just read fan fiction with nothing extra added to it. I feel like my audience would get bored of that, and so would I. Um,
Well, I think for you it would just be a difference between like having a microwaved meal that you can just push a button and heat up, and then instead having to learn how to cook. But I think ultimately you'll end up with a higher quality product if know how to do that stuff for yourself. But I suppose the heart of this question is, if not money motivated, like what motivates your inspiration, your creativity, fan of most everything, besides like contest entries and whatnot.
It's honestly just a matter of I have a question I want to answer. Um, Whether it's, a discrepancy or a missing part of the canon, or it's just a scenario that I think would be very fun to explore. It's something that I want to see. I literally write the change that I want to see in the world, where change is defined as horse fiction.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
See, I think we're very similar in that respect. For example, like the origin of Starlight's cutie mark, like you brought it up with your story, and now I'm also kind of scratching my head, like, oh yeah, I do wonder how that would be. Like I accept your story as one particular interpretation, but now I'm inspired to come up with my own idea because it's a good question.
Yeah, I
Wonderful.
remember that GIF you put up all the time in the chat room. You know, I must write a fanfic about this. Whenever you see someone come up with a good idea, that's
Yeah,
a
and that
classic
that
thing you
that is
do.
really how it is. And I do keep a list. Like I have a notebook, I have a digital notebook, I have a physical copy on my desk, and I have to write things down. There have been times when I've written things down in a state where I read it the next day and like I have no idea what I was talking about.
Mm.
Because it was just like some quick shorthand in the middle of a conversation like what we're having right now, and I'll write down something, and I look at it the next day like I have no idea what that was supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm really
Oh
envious
yeah,
of you guys.
I've got a massive slush file of all of the different concepts and snippets and just, vague notions that can go on to become stories.
Yeah, I'm really envious that you guys are so creative. Like, you know, I don't have much creativity in comparison. What I do is mostly just adapting the great story that someone else has come up with into an audiobook, which yeah, I mean, I really admire that you guys have the creativity to write stories so consistently and come up with so many great ideas and yeah, and then I leech off of that.
Hey, that's its own skill set. I could never do what you do.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I don't have the patience to learn to do what you do. So you provide a service to the fandom, beyond just the reading function on the website. Like you adding the sound effects and the voices and the music is an experience that people aren't going to get by just using the voice function on the website. And our fandom needs everyone to play their individual part. We could have you as another writer, or we could have you providing the service of creating these podcasts, creating these audiobooks, and that is a niche that needs to be filled. And we're all happy that you're doing it. So
Hmm.
don't feel like you need to compare yourselves to us. That's apples to oranges.
Yeah,
You know.
there's been a couple of contests that I've thought about joining. Kind of had a kind of lame idea and just decided it'll take too much time and energy because
Speaking
yeah.
as someone who has run several contests, I appreciate every entry, no matter, however rough it is. I'm just glad that someone took my suggestion and ran with it enough to make a story in its own right.
Hmm. Yeah, I've always thought about maybe writing a story now and then. But yeah, writing is hard. That's one of the main things that stops me. It's like, yeah,
It can
it's
be, yeah. Oh, well, while I'm thinking about it, Shakes, thank you so much for continuing to manage Jinglemas. I can only imagine just how much of a cat herding exercise it is every year.
It can be, but I have cultivated a wonderful support staff, so that way I'm not shouldering everything myself, like I was for the first 3 years. Having the help of all the people that I list every year, especially this year with Strange Fellow working behind the scenes to do like a lot of coding for the spreadsheet, has just made the exchange day proper, where I actually have to like send out all the emails, is all a lot more streamlined now, because that used to be an all day affair where I'd have to like I would wake up first thing in the morning and I'd be doing that all day until dinner time, and now it's only 4 hours, which is still a lot,
That's
but it's a lot
it.
better, and it's going to improve. I can absolutely see why Petrichord and Flutter Priest got burnt out at, because they were trying to do it not even with a spreadsheet, but with like a Word document, and I can't
Oh
even
God.
fathom. Right, and I'm just like, are you guys high? I'm surprised you managed to do it at all.
Yeesh.
So it really it's about working smarter, and I think that applies to a lot of disciplines. And yes, writing can be hard, but it is a skill that can be learned and practiced.
and
Like I might not be able to run a marathon, but like there's training you can do to be able to run a marathon. And it's just whether or not you want to make the time and the effort to dedicate to that particular skill.
like I
And that's my
mentioned
advice
at
to
the
anybody.
start of the episode, I think it takes a lot of skill to be a judge as well. Like how you judge and decide what is good writing and what is Like, what's 10 out of 10 writing and what's 9 out of 10 writing? That must be quite a skill.
Well, it comes down to a few things. First of all, like if you're running a contest, if the contest has a theme, it's how well it adheres to the theme. And it could be a wonderfully written story. It could be very well executed, but if it doesn't apply, if it doesn't follow the theme, then it doesn't qualify. But like technical writing is important too, and that's an objective measure. This has nothing to do with what I think about the story or how I feel about it. It's just like, does this person know how to spell? Do they use punctuation correctly? Are they using the correct grammar? Their
Grammar
sentence
Nazi.
structures. Does it read well? Paragraphs, all that stuff, and that's something that can be objectively measured, and that's a discipline that anyone can learn. And then like getting into like the meta of understanding the characters, understanding like where the author's mindset was in writing it. That's another level higher where you have to kind of think like what was the author's interpretation of this, and you start delving into philosophy at that point. But as you, but all that stuff can be learned.
Okay, just hold on a sec, guys. I got a call from work. I just got to find out what that's about. So I'm just going to take my headphones off and let you guys chat for a bit. And I'll probably get
All
a
right.
drink too while I'm taking a quick break.
Sometimes I wonder what I'll be known for more uh, years from now, whether I'll be the writer who writes my particular niche subject matter, or if I'm going to be the guy who runs Jingle Miss, because not everybody has their mature filter off. So when they see my page, they see like the dozen or so teen rated stories, and the fact that I run Jingle Miss, and the rest of the catalog is hidden. And I'd be fine either way.
Wow, it's so weird. It says he's written 141 stories, but I don't see many.
Yeah. I mean, I would even if Jingle Miss still took me all day, like I would still do it, because I feel like I'm the jester on the stage trying to juggle one more ball just to keep people from leaving.
Hmm.
Because
No, I feel that. But no, yeah, no. Realize I'm supposed to be, the big special guest, but A, that's kind of an alien feeling for me, and B, while I've got you on the phone, I may as well give some thanks.
of course, we're just. I mean, I know he's got these pie in the sky dreams of like being the next Barcast, but the Barcast was really something special, and they did the right thing at the right time. I was happy to be a part of that, as much as I was.
Oh, man, that's insane. Work wants me to come in like an hour after I just came home from work 2 hours ago. So I don't think that's
Ah,
legal
Your
yes.
what they're
finest
asking
fucking
me.
pardon.
Yeah, I don't think that's legal what they're asking. They probably don't realize that I just did a shift. So
Yeah, it's called the clopen shift. You do the close and then you do the open.
yeah, they're not allowed to ask me to do that, I'm pretty sure. So I just said, I just finished a shift this morning. I'm about to go to bed. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Well, they
work in
can
an
they can
hour.
ask you to do that, and you can volunteer to do it, but they can't like hold your job hostage if you decline.
Yeah.
That's the law.
Yeah. So yeah, I told them no. Plus, I probably am going to go to bed shortly after this thing because yeah, it's been a pretty big day for me already. So screw that. Oh,
Yep.
anyway. All right. What were you just talking about?
Just the longevity of the fandom, talking about Jinglemas and just all the things that we've been trying to do to just keep everyone in the fandom.
Cool, cool. All right. So I think we'll go on to the next segment, which is Shakespearicles, legendary writing advice. So
All right.
yeah, let's go. Let's get our
So
get your
as
notepads
I was
out.
saying, yeah, well, as I was saying before about interesting writing, is that you can write terrible characters, and what I mean by terrible characters, I mean characters that are evil and do terrible things. Because as long as you can have the audience be entertained by them, if you can have them empathize with the villain, or at least understand, I'm not saying sympathize, they don't have to agree with why they're doing it, but if they can at least understand it, you can have that villain do some pretty villainous things. No, I don't think anyone would agree with why Thanos did what he did, but they can understand the reasons why he did it. They can understand his thought process behind it, and he's an entertaining character. And one of the biggest sins that you can commit as a writer is writing boring, tedious, unlikable characters. And you know, I'll take that last one back. You can write unlikable characters intentionally. Like if you look at like the character of Zephyr Breeze, he's intentionally written to be unlikable because what you can do around that is have the other characters rally to create these interesting situations where you have this character who's unlikable and put into these situations that are entertaining in and of themselves. And you, as long as you see this unlikable character, getting what he deserves in terms of like getting shocked by a lightning cloud by Rainbow Dash because he was flirting with her, I assume. Then that makes it okay because now you see the unlikable character getting what they deserve, and you can feel entertained by that as a reader. The important thing about all of it is that it's interesting because as soon as the book, the story, or the character stops being interesting, that's when your readers are going to close the book or close the tab. And whatever story you're telling, like as long as it's engaging and interesting, you can tell really. I'm not going to say bad stories, but terrible, horrible things happening in the stories. Tragedies and horror, or the gory battlefield, but it needs to be something that the audience is going to want to be interested in reading. Because as soon as you make it boring and tedious, that's when you're going to lose them more than anything else.
Yeah, cool.
No
Uh,
notes.
yeah. Is that the end of the segment already?
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of it was just the importance of interesting writing, interesting characters over necessarily having them being morally good or ethical. Like Megamind was a great movie that was criminally underrated because all the characters were interesting. And when you look at Titan, okay, he was a terrible character. He was the unlikable uh, simp character that nobody liked, and that the reporter there rightly was not interested in, despite the fact that he's trying to be like the nice guy, but when he ends up getting his comeuppance, like you have this unlikable character getting it in an interesting way. And you have Megamind, who's supposed to be the villain, who's trying to be like play his role as the villain, but he does it in an interesting way, which makes it a great movie. And if you have not seen Mastermind, you need to go, oh, not Mastermind, Megamind. Go watch Megamind. It's a great movie, and it deserved way more acclaim than it got.
Yeah, I think I saw it quite a long time ago. Uh, it's about the big head blue alien guy, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure if I remember that much about it.
Well, you should go back and watch it again. It does a great take on the concept of nature versus nurture at the beginning. Like that's kind of like the core of it. And that like how people who were brought up in with certain expectations made of them doesn't mean they have to fit into that box that they were placed into.
Yep. I've certainly, not gone the way that a lot of my family expected me to. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they did the same thing with Thorax in My Little Pony, where you had Thorax, where he was a changeling, and changelings at that point were like the universal bad guy. Like if you wanted to have a nameless, faceless bad guy in your fan fiction, just have a changeling because you can have a changeling bad guy, and you can do whatever you want with it, and nobody's going to care. And then you have Thorax come along, and now you've got like the good changeling. And I'm sure there was fan fictions before that where they had the good changeling who was, the turncoat there. But like when they did it in the show, they demonstrate like, yeah, just because you're a product of your upbringing doesn't mean you have to fall in line with that. Like you can be your own individual, which as for changelings is especially amazing since they've got the whole like hive mind thing going on.
Yeah, it brings to mind something that I actually specifically looked up to quote from one of my favorite authors on the site, Esty. There are many ways to create a monster, and the one the girl knows best is rather basic. You tell someone they're a monster over and over again, then wait to see how long it takes before they agree with you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, cool. So normally we would have a segment that belongs to Leviathan Eclipse, but since he's not here, maybe I'll just give the segment to you, fan of most everything. Fan of most every. Are you ready? You don't know what it is going to be yet.
We'll edit this part.
I am as ready as I can be before hearing your idea.
All right. Fan of most everything's headcanon extravaganza.
Oh dear.
So yeah, what's your craziest headcanon theories? Although you've already given a lot of them so far, but now we can have
This
more.
is a good segment for him. Yes.
Well, I am literally going through my slush file. Sandbar is Treehugger's nephew. His family moved to Ponyville from California at her recommendation soon after the whole incident with Discord at the gala. Got his cutie mark before then, but fortunately the sea turtles don't symbolize anything especially nautical. His special talent is composure. His mellow is nigh unharshable. This made him the perfect pony representative and reference point for 5 creatures trying to acclimate themselves to Equestria. There is no telling if Treehugger knew this would happen through a oneness with nature, or if she just thought her little bro's family would dig the sweet vibes. Or both.
That's great. Because I never had a problem with Sandbar, but like I never had any interest in him either. Because like he'd never struck me as an interesting character. But now,
Yeah, that's always the greatest challenge with him. They literally made a messy-haired harem protagonist pony. How do you make that interesting?
I mean, like his relationship with Yona was like the only thing he had going for him. But now that you've proposed that, that's turning on some lights in my mind.
Oh no, I wrote a blog about this. Like you've got the tsundere, you've got the shy bookish one, you've got the Genki girl foreigner.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they just wanted to, make a bunch of characters to just fill out a roster of characters they haven't covered yet, and Male Pony was, I guess, one of them. That's kind of
well. I mean, you have well, also they have Male Griffin.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
the tsundere.
I thought. Wait. I thought Smolder was a tsundere.
Man, Smolder just reminded me of Scootaloo. I think Smolder had the same color palette.
Okay, because Ocellus is clearly Moe, and then Yona I could definitely see being Yandere, if not Smolder.
I like to call Yuna Fluttershy 3.0, because Marvel Pie was Fluttershy 2.0.
much in the same way lightning dust is dash fast, is dash to dash with a vengeance.
I quite enjoyed the what are they, the Friendship Five or whatever cast. I feel like it could have been interesting if they went with like a whole spin-off show with them. I
What
think
you mean
that
with the students?
yeah,
The
There are
student
6 of
six
them.
there? Yeah.
six, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean
you get
that
the
it seemed
student
like
six.
their intention to kind of have a alternative main six. Which
Well, all right. So, just getting a little meta here. Yes, that was the intention in the Hasbro office. Was like, hey, we're starting to stagnate with these characters. What do we do? Oh, we'll just add in Poochie. That's essentially it's a Poochie move
hmm.
where you add in these new characters and hopefully you can do some new story. I mean, like I feel there were some places where they obviously retreaded some pretty similar ground with the original cast. But it was I liked it enough. I know some people like had a problem with like as soon as the School of Friendship started, they were just like, yeah, I'm out. And there were a lot of checkout points in the show for the people who are a little bit more discerning when it comes to their matters of taste. But like when Twilight got her wings, the School of Magic, School of Friendship, there were other things that people were just like, nope, I'm done, and they use that as their exit, and for whatever their reasons are. But for me, more material to pull from is good. Having Sandbar, having his connection with Treehugger, I like that. For me, since I always like to throw a little chip in here for this segment too, I'm trying to figure out a way to find a connection between Zephyr Breeze and Lightning Dust, just because of their color palette.
I
And
have
they're both
seen an idea
Pegasi.
that Lightning Dust is in fact Zephyr's twin, which is especially fascinating to give Fluttershy two insufferable younger siblings. Cousin is also a possibility. I've literally written a story where Rarity tries to pair the two of them simply based on their matching color palettes, which ends in a tornado.
Yeah. And this is a particular interest to me for reasons that I don't want to harsh the rating on this podcast, but if you know, you
I've
know.
accidentally danced around the subject. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. I think my throat's about at its limit.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair enough.
I'm gonna go take some NyQuil.
Yeah, we're about to reach an hour and a half, so yeah, if that's all we've got, it's probably a bit shorter just because Leviathan's not here, but
Yeah,
is it
I'm
ready?
also prepared to blame everything that went wrong on him.
Yeah, we'll make sure we do that. Let him know he missed the greatest episode ever.
Yep.
Just two things, two more stories I wanted to plug that I feel are a bit underappreciated while I've got you here.
Absolutely.
One is Flashing Before Your Eyes, which is technically part of the Oversaturated World, but a good standalone, and it's just one of my favorite stories for one of my favorite unconventional ships, which is Human Derpy and Flash Sentry. And also, it may be the cover that I've done the most effort on, which I am posting in the channel.
Oh wow, that's high quality stuff right there.
My covers are always a delicate balance between effort and pure shitpost.
Nice.
That was the word. Yep.
It's got the retro wave. What do they call it? The
The
Synth.
vaporwave background was
Yeah.
absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And
just
the
works.
second, more serious one is The Qualm Before the Storm. It is another story that contains comic elements, which may explain why why it wasn't as heavily viewed as some others. But I'm especially proud of it because this was one that stalled out for multiple years before I finally managed to put it together in the end, and I am genuinely proud of the end result, and the fact that it is relatively underviewed does sadden me a little.
Yeah, maybe I could possibly take a look at it and maybe audiobook it. We'll see.
No,
Could you post it
if
in
it
the
if it
Discord
if
and
it
so I can
if it
look at it?
inspires you, go ahead. If you just read and enjoy it, it's that fine. If you read and don't enjoy it, that is also fine.
Hey, I never read anything without making it an audiobook. That's one of my rules. So yeah, we'll see. If the description interests me, maybe I'll take a look at it.
Fair enough.
And I do remember one segment that there's a segment that I forgot about, which we can maybe get through really quickly, and that is who is best pony? What is best episode?
I mean, best pony is and forever shall be Derpy Hooves. I couldn't possibly explain why, but I felt that way ever since I first saw her.
Yet another one who isn't saying a main six. Interesting. That's happened like every episode so far. No one likes the main six.
And for best episode, if I'm going to go for, and please pardon the pun, the low-hanging fruit, I'm going to say The Perfect Pair.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Is that the romantic episode?
That is the one about Applejack's parents.
Okay. I think that was one of my. Is that the one with pear butter?
Yes.
Yeah, that is
Yes.
totally one of my favorite episodes too. Yeah.
No, it is just one of the most emotionally mature and richest and most heartfelt instances, but episodes in the show, and honestly renditions of a Romeo and Juliet romance, especially since they don't die until after they've had 3 kids.
Like I actually watched that at a brony viewing party with like like real people, like all in the room watching it together. That was a lot of fun. But that episode happened to be the one we watched that day. It was epic with a whole crowd. Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for that. And yeah, I guess I'll finish off by saying, by the way, is he his best pony?